So you play a game. You gotta at least been 10 years ago at this point. And you really enjoyed that game, the first one. You loved the aesthetic. You loved... Back then, it was kind of freshly remastered-ish, I think. Anyways, you loved it, and then you tried to jump right into the second one, and you realized, okay, well, I've played through this world. Even though it's different, it's different. The enemies and stuff are still very similar, and the combat's very similar, and the mechanics are very similar. So you start it, and you're already a little over it, so you never make it very far. If you've ever felt that way, then you've tried to jump right into one big adventure after the other and fell victim to the burnout. Hi, I'm Justin, and welcome to the XP Log, a daily-ish podcast about my gaming journey. And I am running out of preambles. Today I want to talk about Star Ocean 2. So it was probably like 10 years ago-ish, or longer, man. It's been quite a while. I played Star Ocean First Departure on my PSP at work. Yep. Yeah, I played it and beat it at work. I was actually had carpal tunnel surgery in my hands. And so I was on limited duty. In between stuff I could do, I was just playing my PSP at work. And I was playing a bunch of RPGs. The only one I really remember is Star Ocean, though. And I beat it. And then I tried to roll right into Star Ocean 2, and I hit a bit of a wall. It felt too much of the same thing, I guess, is what it felt like. At the time. I don't remember how long it took me to beat the first one. I probably just took my sweet time, to be honest with you. But I played that, and I played Lunar, which is still on my list. I never quite finished that one, but that's a different story. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Star Ocean 2, and I think it's really cool that it's a direct sequel. So Ronix, who's in the first one, he's a captain in the first one, is Claude C. Kinney's father. So it's like right on the heels of it. It's really good. Well, maybe like 20 years later or something like that. But yeah, it's really good. I like when games do that, even though so far it seems it's in name only, but still pretty cool. For those of you that don't know, Star Ocean was actually a Super Nintendo game, I believe, Super Famicom. And then it was remade on... I know it was made on PlayStation. I don't think it was on the Saturn, but yeah, it was ported to the PlayStation, and that's where I knew it from back in the day. Star Ocean 1 and 2. 3 was on PS2. The only one I've beaten is the first one, but it's I guess you can call it an action JRPG. It's kind of like the Tales of games. So the combat is it puts you in this little arena, and you run around and you do your combos and stuff like that, and do your special moves. So it's kind of like the Tales games. So kind of like an action combat. It's sort of like how Rogue Galaxy was, honestly. So yeah, and it's a sci-fi JRPG, even though one one little critique or whatnot. The sci-fi is sprinkled in here or there, but it seems like, at least so far, it begins as a sci-fi space faring journey, um, but you just crash on a planet, and then it's basically your basic fantasy fantasy stuff. Because he uses a sword and his gun pretty much breaks right away. Um, but yeah, he crash lands on a planet and they see him as or no, he doesn't crash land. I'm sorry. I'm getting my games mixed up. He doesn't crash land. He teleports. He's he's on the Calnus with his father, and they is he on the Calnus? I think so. I don't know. I'm getting my games confused. Um, but he's on the Calnus with his father. I'm just calling it the Calnus. If I'm wrong, let me know. Um, he's on the Calnus with his father, and they're investigating a planet or whatnot. And he's like, "Oh, this little anomaly, this little device isn't dangerous. Watch!" And he walks up to it, and it freaking teleports him to some random planet. And they pretty much think he's the chosen one because he saves Reyna, a girl in the woods, with his phase gun, his sword of fire, right? They think he's the legendary hero. And then they go on an adventure. He's trying to get home, and they're trying to save their world from this soul globe that came from outer space. So, but it kind of devolves into your basic, you're on one planet. There's not too much sci-fi going on. So it's basically fantasy with a little bit of sci-fi. So, and I really, honestly, I didn't want to jump into another big adventure. I also didn't want to jump into another big space adventure. But as I was playing Rogue Galaxy, I kept thinking about how I've never really played Star Ocean 2. And I really enjoyed the first one a whole lot. And Star Ocean 2's considered like the best one. So naturally, I wanted to play it. I did toy around with trying to play a more modern one. I have Divine Force, and I also have Till the End of Time on my PlayStation, which is the third one, I believe. And then I also have I have the fifth one too. It's the Hope one. Actually, I have four and five. I have all of them. And I've only ever beaten the first one on PSP over a decade ago. It's funny. But yeah. I have them all. But more specifically, I have them all on PC. So I have two more modern ones, even though I am playing the remaster or remake. Is it a remake or a remaster? I can't even really remember anymore. I think it's a remake of 2 on my Steam Deck, basically. But I do have Divine Force and the other one that has Hope in the name, which are more modern, more cinematic, I guess. They're full 3D, all that jazz, more anime, I guess. But yeah, I decided to go with 2 because it's often considered a classic. And I've always wanted to continue that story. If it wasn't a direct sequel, I might have changed my mind a little bit. Just to get the better fidelity or stuff like that, but no, I feel like I want to continue and finish that story, right? But yeah, that's where I'm at, man. Star Ocean 2, been on my list for a very long, but since before, I beat the first one. It's been on my list for a very long time because it's often been considered one of the best JRPGs. Definitely the best Star Ocean game. And every time a Star Ocean game comes out, I am interested in it because I like big uh big adventurous RPGs, and I like sci-fi, and I really, really, really want just a great sci-fi RPG. And Rogue Galaxy is really, really good. It was fun. I think it's probably very underrated and a forgotten gem, so to speak. But it wasn't quite. It suffers from a very similar problem as Star Ocean, and it's probably uh, more of a time constraint and stuff like that to make a whole bunch of different planets and stuff, which Rogue Galaxy does, but also it's is very basic, and the enemies are reskinned and stuff like that, and nothing is like super alien. That's what I want. I want a epic space RPG where everything is super alien, where the planets are crazy and enemies are strange, and the story is like, I mean, Mass Effect JRPG style. Because they got guns and stuff like that. But I guess it's hard to do that and not do a shooter. Anyways, I guess this kind of devolved into just a talk about sci-fi RPGs. Huh. Hey, stream of thought. What can I say? My brain everywhere. Anyways, so originally I started off, I didn't want a big adventure, and then I just kind of picked a big adventure anyway. Have you ever started playing something that you've been interested in, but you didn't think you wanted to play, but come to find out that's exactly what you were looking for? Leave it in the comments on YouTube and Spotify. As always, like, follow, tell your friends. It helps me out tremendously, and that is all the time I got today. Peace out.